The Battle of Britain is about to begin.
Deep right, we got extra up there. Let's follow a range on deep right. I'm being out right on the target right now. I've got a couple of these right in front of me. I'm going out for it. Right there, got him.
Welcome back to the Lead Pursuit podcast. Tonight, we're going to talk about some of the drama that our team has undergone over the last few months. It's not just drama, it's trauma. It's terrible. It's horrible. It's what happens when reality hits your hobby life. So tonight, the most important guest that we're going to have to talk about that is the man who's been living that misery, Matt. How are things going, Matt? Looks like you're a little organized there. You're making progress.
Little being the operative term there. My hobby room's still trashed, and the bonus room still has piles of crap that I've got to go through and decide what to keep and what to sell.
Well, good. Well, we'll talk more about that here in a second. But you're joined also by the most OCD and organized hobbyer who hasn't been getting any hobby done, Brett. How are things going, Brett?
Oh, good. Happy to be here. You're right. I have not been a disciplined hobby guy.
You've been a disciplined vacation and screw off guy, but that's okay, because if we're talking about screwing off, the master of screwing off, building an F-16 cockpit instead of producing your Adepticon swag, Steve, how are things going tonight?
Dude, I got your order done. I'm all stocked up on neoprene ship targets. I have some time to do flight sim stuff. We're good. The ship targets are stocked up. Don't worry about it.
All I know is when I see pieces and parts of sims being done, I'm like, bro, this ain't the Adepta sim that we're going to. We're going to Adepticon. So yeah, I was laughing watching you go down another rabbit hole there, but that's good. As long as our glasses and neoprene and everything's done,
it's part of the merge display at our booth this year.
Yeah, exactly. Come play this game that doesn't exist yet and doesn't have a rule book. Because if it did, Steve would tear it in half just to get back at me.
I got so inspired by talking about Fulcrum Leader. I had to start doing some modern jet stuff for myself.
You mean that game from the most toxic game designer on the internet today? I was disappointed to see that his nominations are going forward for things like the Charles S. Roberts Awards. There isn't a section for most toxic game designer. I'm just disappointed. I thought that would be an award I could compete for. In fact, I was trying to, but apparently all that effort was wasted. It's all right. Let's go back to being me. All right. So let's talk about a couple things coming up, and then we'll hop into the hobby drama, trauma, and crying game of hobby things going on. Adepticon. By the time this episode drops, Adepticon signups will have started. So if you haven't gone out and signed up for your Lead Pursuit event for either the tournament for Blood Red Skies, the Blood Red Skies Furball, maybe some Beyond Megali games or some Aeronautic Imperialis, do so. Of course, our games don't sell out on day one. We're not Warhammer 40K, but they do sell out eventually. So get in there, get your signups done, and get your list in if you're going to go to that tournament, because we might have to put somebody like Steve or Brett in to make sure that everybody's playing hard or hardly playing, or whatever that motto would be. Steve's just shaking his head at me. But yeah, Adepticon is the big thing. Before Adepticon, Siege of Vicksburg is back. If I had done my proper planning, I would be able to tell you exactly the dates. It's somewhere around the 20th and 21st of February in Vicksburg at the VFW, unless things change. So,
Vicksburg, Virginia.
I'm not going to let you make that joke. I was just going to talk right over you. Nope, there's Vicksburg, Mississippi. But Vicksburg, Mississippi, VFW. I don't think we'll do a tournament. I think it'll be a grudge match. Everybody gets to come punch me in the face, and if I win in Blood Red Skies, I punch them in the face. So we'll do that. Fair enough trade. But it should be a good time. There's always a ton of cool events, games, and other people that are there to hang out with. But other than that, I think that's the big events. I would be remiss if I didn't give a big thank you to all of the Lead Pursuit supporters and miniatures gamers and little airplane collectors that made our end of year sale amazing. So I say it a lot, but I've got to emphasize it. We don't have Patreon. We don't just take donations on the website. We make our money that gets us to Adepticon and these other events and gets you all swag through sales. So it's awesome that you guys really supported us at the end of the year. Appreciate that. That money turns right around into all of the swag that Steve's been producing, all of the glasses and the magnets and the stuff that we can give away. So, buying extra templates and stuff to give away as swag and T-shirts that we can throw at you. That all comes out of that money. So thanks for the support. Thanks for clearing out a lot of my stocks. So now Chris will have to start printing again. And as you've probably seen, we dropped a bunch of new prepackaged blisters on the website. So if you've been wanting to buy 4 aircraft at a time or 2 aircraft for the jets, hop over there and pick up some of that. Steve, is there any Blue Falcon Hobbies things that have recently hit the site or anything new?
Oh, you know what? I actually, I was waiting to kind of put it on Facebook. Maybe by the time this episode drops, I've been updating all of like the past almost 2 years of decals that were on the Patreons. They're showing up on the website.
Nice.
And all of the Kickstarter 3D models are slowly working their way onto the website. So probably about another week, there'll be about 2 years worth of decals, and all of the U.S. Vietnam jet STLs will be available on there too.
Outstanding. I know people are already asking about more aircraft and other things. We'll have to talk about that when your schedule allows, but there is still definitely a demand for highly detailed aircraft STLs out there, especially for modern stuff. So, well, cool. Well, let's jump into the main episode. And I'm going to set the stage, as I did a couple episodes ago, by saying I think the wives conspired against us. I have a feeling they all got together on a conference call and said, this winter, let's make the guys redo their hobby spaces. Matt, you've obviously got a good excuse from your wife.
Yeah, we had to do the old room switcheroo thanks to incoming baby number 2.
Yeah. So I guess that's a valid reason to move a bunch of plastic out of a perfectly good room.
Yeah. But I think, so, we had to obviously make room. My daughter's going into her, big girl room, and baby's going into the old room. And during that process, the guest room got moved. So I was switching 3 rooms, like, having to play Tetris and move stuff one place and the other. Anyways, in the midst of that, and I think this was unfortunately true, and give my wife credit here, she identified part of the problem of having too much hobby stuff. I'm really good at like
no
finding
such thing.
Oh yeah, I totally disagree there, but in her opinion, take it as it is, the reason I have so much hobby stuff that if we were on video, you'd be able to see my shelves overflowing with stuff that's unorganized and nothing's in boxes or any sort of organization there. I can't actually see all my stuff at once, because some of it's squirred away in the attic. Some of it was squirreled away in the hobby room. The hobby room just started developing piles, because I'd start on something, get, the hobby ADD would kick in, or ADHD would kick in, and all of a sudden I would move projects and then just kind of shove stuff in piles. As a result, I couldn't see where anything was. As I was cleaning stuff out, I was finding duplicates of stuff.
Shocking. Didn't see that one coming.
I mean, it's one thing to buy like duplicates of paint. It's another thing to find like 3 duplicate P40 boxes for BRS. Yeah. So, but I do think overall she was right. Like once I get everything organized and on shelves where I can kind of see it and say, okay, I do actually have all that, or I don't need any more stuff, or I want kind of work on this rather than ordering something new, just go pull it off the shelf and actually work on it. So that's kind of why I had to move this stuff, and then kind of my vision to get everything into one hobby space where I'm not like storing stuff in the attic, and I'm not storing stuff in another room where I can't see it or it's not readily accessible. That's my main goal, is to make sure everything's like readily accessible, so I don't like go crazy buying stuff when I'm like, I just turn around and like, oh yeah, that'd be great. I want to build a ship. Great. There's, Cruel Seas or what's the Age of Sail stuff from Warlord?
Yes.
Black
Sails. Yes.
Yeah, Black Sails. Like, because I found when I was cleaning, I found the Constitution and HMS Victory.
I was cleaning and I found a ship.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. So I mean, you wouldn't believe the number.
There was a ship hiding in this house.
This wouldn't shock anyone, maybe, but the number 172 World War I aircraft that I found, I've got as many RAF SE5As as I do A4s.
Yeah, that's not a surprise. And for those who haven't seen the image of Matt behind the wall of plastic boxes at the local IPMS show as he was selling his wares, it was impressive to see. A little frightening, a little disturbing. Felt like I was in an episode of Hoarders, but it was impressive to see. So yeah, that what I've found is I have to use clear containers because that way, if I put models in there, if I put sprues in there, so I've got big ones for sprues, I can put that all in a nice little layout and then label it and say Marine Mark 7 or whatever. And that helps, at least in my hobby area, because things for me make it out of the box. I realize, Matt, you're going, I don't even have that problem. My stuff is all still in the box. But things for me make it out of the box. I build one or two of them, and then sprues become stacked on sprues, or 3D printed parts become stacked on other 3D printed stuff. And so I've had to go buy the little 8.5 by 11, basically paper boxes that are 3 inches high, put sprues in there. So that keeps me actually somewhat honest.
Part of the problem I've discovered is you giving me all those misprints from all over the place. Yeah, you guy with the thumbs. I've got more misprint Corsair and P-38s than I know what to do with. I've been giving them to Hazel if they're, a wing broken off, and she loves them to just kind of play around. And then the next thing you know, they're smashed. So I'm like, oh, well, I can throw that away. Great.
Throw that one away. Well, you're not the only one I'm overloading with misprints. So I was chuckling that Jason Fernandez was asking me, hey, can you send us some of the swag for our event? I'm like, sure, which is also an excuse to dump a bunch of misprints in a box and say, here, Merry Christmas, guys, have fun with this. But yeah, I take full responsibility for that, and I have a bunch more stuff to give you if you want it.
I mean, sweet. I won't say no. You know that.
Yeah, I know that. Well, one of the things I've learned organizing my space here, now, obviously I've got a mix of miniature games and Hex Encounter, but mine was driven all from losing the closet that I had that was my kind of overflow space. So if I had gotten a bunch of 3D prints and I put them in bags and I could put them in some kind of container, they could make it into the overflow, which was the closet. And then I would find them a place either on the display rack, or I would put them into whatever kit that I had set for gaming. So like all my Aeronautica targets are in one little small sleeve that I can take. But the problem was when my wife couldn't get to Christmas in the Christmas closet, which had become my miniatures overflow closet, then that became a strategic problem. So I fortunately had the Lead Pursuit warehouse, aka a storage unit, to dump some of those things. But it was kind of funny to go from a world where in Lead Pursuit storage, there was a lot of stuff that was extra model overflow. So, models that were getting ready to be put in sleeves, getting ready to be sent out. And then suddenly I had my own personal model overflow. So I had to take half of that storage shelf area and turn it into Doug's model overflow. And some of it's Lead Pursuit stuff like, the furball kit, things like that. But some of them are like 2 Victory at Sea sets. Why do I have 2 starter sets for Victory at Sea? Because I'm an idiot. That's why. But no copies of Combined Arms.
You now have a storage unit of shame, not just a closet of shame.
I do. It's not just a closet of shame. The nice thing is my hobbies. I'm now trying to figure out how to get rid of all my photography stuff and all of the leftovers from the aviation world to clear out room. So I'd been selling off flight harnesses and things like that to make room for Lead Pursuit stuff. So if anyone wants any flight harnesses, I might know a guy that's got some. But yeah, so I've been trying to reorganize my Hex Encounter stuff because that truly has been the biggest controllable disaster. That I would have stacks of Wargaming magazines with the game and all the counters that came in that magazine, and them all stuffed just in various random places around here. And that was taking up space where something perfectly good like an actual boxed game could sit. So I was fortunate that I found out on Amazon, they make construction paper boxes, which are these little inch high clip boxes. They're a little bit larger than 8.5 by 11 that are perfect for storing things like magazines, or in my case, magazines with little counters. So I threw a lot of that stuff in there. So it now sits up like a bookcase game, sits on a bookcase. It is organized rather than is a disastrous stack of cardboard and paper. But yeah, the models, the miniatures are still a bit of a problem. My hobby table is terrible. Who on this call has a terrible, disorganized hobby table? All of us? Okay, good.
Unanimous.
I think it becomes funny, the smaller painting area you get as you don't clean models off your table, you leave things on the table, and you go from having a mat that is 2 feet by 18 inches or whatever, you're now working in the 6 by 6 spot on that mat.
You will adapt your work area to whatever size you have.
Brett actually has a clear mat. My problem is my mat has a bunch of 3D prints that are super glued together and ready for priming, but not, they're taking up mat space.
I have worked on like the, 2 little areas next to the trackpad on my laptop to do modeling before. So like, there's no such thing as not enough space to hobby. That doesn't exist. That's not true. Life finds a way. To quote Malcolm.
I had organized mine into, I'll call them project columns. I had primed miniatures that were all cleaned and primed, ready to go. And I had them organized by columns I could work through. So I didn't need to split the workspace. I just would take a group of miniatures, work on it, put it back in its spot. Yeah, that didn't work. My hobby would bounce around. It would be like, oh, I'm going to do one of these armored personnel carriers. Oh, I'm going to do one of these trucks. Oh, I'm going to do. So I was pulling individual miniatures from everywhere, and they all just kind of migrated to the center of the table. So one giant unpainted mass of destruction in the middle of my table.
What gets me is I have all these pots of paint everywhere because all the stuff for whatever I'm currently working on, I've got a batch of things I'm working on, but all the paints that go with that are all on the table until that project is done. And I would say just in general, just the general, like how I keep my paints, even when they're not being used and stored away, organized, I could do it better. I think you could probably see behind me, I have these acrylic, they're probably like, for
the figure for the displays fingernail polish things or whatever.
They're just these cheap acrylic things you can get off Amazon. You could assemble, and they work pretty well because I could fit a lot in my bookshelves. But I think to do it best, I should have a rack that goes flat up against the wall. I think you have something like that where it's these things that flat vertically on the wall.
That's what I've done. Is my wall is flat, and I've disciplined myself. Now, when I say I've disciplined myself, much like Matt was the beneficiary of all of my extra 3D prints, Matt was also the beneficiary of all the paints that I cleared out of there. And another good Matt buddy of mine down in Orlando had given me a whole beautiful set of miniature paints, but I just wasn't using them anymore. I was using a bunch of other things, and thankfully, Matt Majet said, I'll take those. So I unloaded them to him, and order was restored to my 2 wall paint racks. Now, I will say I have the exact same problem though that you do, Brett. If I let projects like I have right now, where I've got similar camouflage or similar just paints that are going for the various techniques, they will all migrate onto the table. What I do now to stop that, and it's pretty stupid, but it works, is I will use a paint and I will put it back on the rack. But the first thing I do is I take a picture of the model next to the paint. So I know what I'm doing. So that way I don't feel like, because if I don't keep the paints all together, I'll forget what they are. And so I'll pull 3 paints or so out to do a technique like on these little guys. There's basically 2 dry brush paints, a contrast or 2 different contrasts and 1 wash, 2 washes. So what's that? 6 to 8 paint pots. I'll cycle them back out. So that way I'll do one test model. And then if I'm going to do the rest of them, I can pull all of those paints out, leave them on the table till I get them done. But I force myself to put paint back in the rack ASAP.
I think part of the reason why I end up leaving this stuff out is because I think I'll remember what I was doing next. But what ends up happening when I have 40 bottles of paint, I don't remember what step I was on. And then, there's 6 different greens and I'm like, crap.
That's exactly my problem. That's why I take a photo because I'll be like, which green did I use again? I've now got 4 greens on the table. And there were 4 greens because I was experimenting, but I didn't record in a photo which one I used.
I've gotten a whole bunch of these like little project boxes from, Gamecraft Mini. I think they're out of Kentucky or Tennessee. I don't remember which. Sorry guys if they're listening. But that's helped me keep the paints with the projects. The problem is if I put the project away and I forget to move the paint back.
Where'd my paint go?
Well, yeah, and then I end up buying extra paint. So that's kind of
I'm starting to understand your problem. I'm starting to understand why you're the way you are, Matt.
Yeah.
I'm trying to help myself, but I've lost my paints. Now I must buy more paints.
Yeah. And it's just, for like you guys said, I forget which paints I'm using if they're not like with the project. I've taken photos, but then inevitably I can't find the photo after scrolling, 3 million kid pictures. And it's like, where did the paint photo go? And I'm like, oh no. And then God forbid my wife looked at my phone and be like, why do you have more pictures and models than you of our daughter? I'm like, oh crap.
Important thing. We're trying to keep track of very important things.
Yeah. But, totally understand that like trying to keep the paints with the project thing is really difficult without some sort of organization or like you said, being super disciplined about keeping track of everything.
The real question I have, Matt, is as you were digging through everything and you were finding duplicates, you were finding projects, what did you do for the projects as a whole? Because one of the things I don't do very well is I know some people have hobby trackers and they have hobby goals planners for a year or whatever. I'm terrible about that. I'm all over the page right now. And quite frankly, Adepticon is the closest alligator to the boat.
So I like notebooks. I love notebooks. I like having, everything from the Write in the Rain books to the kind of fancy moleskins and stuff like that. So I usually have a notebook for each hobby project. It's usually one of the
you are OCD.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, that's not usually OCD, but that's something I'm super OCD about. So I am pretty good about keeping track of what the project is, how many of a project I have. It's just in a physically written notebook. That would probably be more efficient in like an Excel sheet or something like that. But I stare at a computer all day at work, and I can't bring myself to stare at a computer for my hobby too. So at least on that end, I do have a reference if I can, to flip through the book and that type of thing. So keeping track of the projects is not a super problem. The kind of problem I have is storage of projects when I either get bored or I get frustrated and I just want to put it aside, or somebody says, hey, can you paint these for me? And I need to put it aside for some reason or another. I don't have a real good way to get that project stored in a way that I can easily come back to it or remember that I'm doing it. I did just buy some of those really useful boxes. I think they're, plastic ones are made in the UK. Those seem to be about the perfect size. And I mean, they're what do the Brits say? Does what it says on the tin. They seem to be about the perfect size for that. So I'm going to try that.
They're great because you can fit sprues in there and finished models. Yeah. And I used to use those more. I ran out of room in my closet of shame, so I don't use those anymore. But part of this project is delving into the closet of shame and transitioning things that belong on a shelf of projects and aren't just on a shelf taking space. Yeah. So there's a lot of stuff in there that quite honestly could be condensed down and take less space. And thus in front of me, I want right at eye level, I want my projects. Fortunately, right at eye level, I have like a bunch of, Titanicus terrain and stuff like that. That can be up on a higher level. That's a resource to be gone through and to delved into when I need to make terrain. That's not a project that's sitting there right in front of me like it should be.
But I was also seeing there's a couple companies that actually make inserts for those really useful boxes. I know they've got X-Wing bases. I'm fairly certain they have Wings of Glory bases, and probably the standard 25, 40 millimeter, 35 millimeter base that inserts. So you can like for Void Fighter or something like that, you can just insert the models or completed models and store them that way. So that's actually, I ordered, I think Noble Knight had a bunch of them for like $2 or $3. So I bought a bunch of the inserts, and I'm going to see how that works.
You laugh. That was one of those things. I don't know if it fills your feed the way it does mine. The silo crates that are all the, you can now get them in transparent crates with all the dividers, and they come in, regular milk crate size, and then half size, third size, quarter size, all these different sizes. And I looked at that, and were they not crazy, stupid expensive? And they had a Christmas sale going, a holiday sale I probably could have pitched in on. But that's the kind of thing that would be better than my paper boxes, because then I can sort inside that box. Because right now the problem is when I have this 3-4 inch deep box by 8.5 by 11, well, what if I've got two small sub projects? How do I do that? Do I get smaller boxes? What do I do? It would be nice to have that, but for the amount of money I would spend on containers using silo crates, I could buy a lot more models.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's kind of the other thing is, not that the really useful boxes are expensive by any means, but they're more expensive than like other options that aren't as hobby focused. I know Costco's got a bunch of clear plastic storage containers. I think it's like $9 for 4, maybe $6 for 4. That's been what I've been using for stuff that's just straight storage. That's worked pretty good for that. Kind of the other.
These are the standard Walmart ones.
Yeah. Those ones are. Yeah, the Costco ones are kind of a little bit. Actually, I can't reach it, but are a little bit bigger and a little bit deeper than that, which is good for like stuff that's boxed. It fits the BRS box. Just the box is pretty well. I fit what the heck? I fit a bunch of Wings of Glory airplanes where I already had the boxes that fit really well. But the other problem I've been having is loose miniatures, like stuff that doesn't go in a set box, or like I just bought it to paint or build, or because I thought it was cool, and it's like a bunch of loose pieces and stuff that don't really go to anything. I know everyone's got a bits box, but this is stuff that I'm like, I need this for a part of something, and I don't where it fits. So it's like loose pieces kind of everywhere. That's what's really holding me up, is trying to get all the loose pieces into an organized state. That's been the real frustrating thing, especially when I've thrown away the main box for whatever reason. I've got a bunch of like 3 or 4 172 aircraft I was working on forever ago, probably during COVID, and just kind of came to a pause in the project. And now I've got the canopies that I don't want to scratch up, and some photo etched parts that I don't want to like lose, and all that crap. And I'm like, I need to find a specific box just for these models, but I'm like, that's not super efficient, and not going to like be able to Tetris that in anywhere with the rest of the storage.
That's why I use that size, because it fits Tetrised in with the other size boxes. And so I have some that are like these really little tiny ones that I can put like half a sprue, or just even cut small stuff out and throw it in there, or it holds a few models.
At Walmart?
Yeah. Those, they're all the Walmart ones. Cause that's the problem I have. I have the same exact problem that I will want to save, these cool guardsman arms, but I've got like a handful of them, on the sprue, or God forbid I have them off the sprue. And that's what I use those little, miniature, what the heck are they for? They're for like coins and stuff like that, little small boxes that then fit inside those.
I think I need to get some of those.
Get stupid expensive, but I have a bunch of those because I have all the bits actually in there, and I've used previously, fishing tackle boxes for bits, but that also gets really expensive when you're sorting by, well, these are all left arms and these are all right arms, and now you have tackle boxes full of that stuff. But that's also some of my, you can't see it, it's hidden behind doors back here, but there's 28 mil bits box stuff back there that I haven't seen since I moved from South Carolina. But it's in the container in there, and it's for a 28 mil project I never built.
Yeah, and then I think Brett touched on this a bit with the paint storage. trying to find a good paint storage solution that's both going to keep them secure, but I've got a big bay, or not a bay window, but a fairly large size window that's letting light in. Like, I don't really want the paints in like direct sunlight, so the place that's really convenient to put the paints in the hobby room is maybe not the best place to put them unless I want them to dry up, super quickly. I've lost, $100 worth of paint within a couple months. So that's like kind of a weird consideration to think about. Just because it is nice while I'm doing hobby to have some sunlight in here, so I'm not like complete troglodyte. But at the same time, that's also destroying the paint.
As Haley let you out of the basement.
Yeah. Yeah.
Haley, I'd like to see Matt. Can he come out to lunch today?
Yeah. Well, that's what we're doing on Fridays. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That'll be tomorrow.
I've got, speaking of which, I've got books for you, which is another great way to get rid of stuff. Give it to your friends. Yeah,
it's worked for me, and now this is payback because you're giving me books, which I actually have room for now. That's
you should be mad at you. Didn't see the books that Chris took when we went to Twin Peaks.
No, that's all right.
Yeah, he got first choice, and man, he went hog wild. But
that's fine. I'm sure he took a bunch of 40K stuff and a bunch of heresy stuff. I don't need that. That's
but that's also been kind of another aspect of this project is like choosing which stuff to like downsize, like which projects I'm like, I'm never going to get to this or I'm never going to play that. Which judging things by what I am and am not going to play right now is probably not I just be getting rid of everything, but.
There's a point there, and this applies to historical gamers less, but for 40K, there's a ton of my stuff that is absolutely obsolete. You can't build legal miniatures with it anymore. It's all stuff that's in Legends list, and so it automatically reduces the number of people I could sell it to, and the people who would buy it, they're probably doing like I am. They're building kind of nostalgic units that you might be able to play in a non-tournament setting, but it's because it's no longer the true models anymore. It's old Space Marine stuff instead of current Primaris size and all that stuff. It's not usable. Thankfully, some of the guard stuff is still the same. That hasn't changed much. But yeah, GW sometimes puts you in a situation where you're like, now I got a ton of plastic that nobody wants to buy because it's not worth putting on the table.
And I mean, that's something I think as a gamer, if trying to sell stuff, you've got to kind of come to terms with that you're probably not going to get a return on what you purchased it for. Then you just have to accept that. I won't say that's universally true. I've sold some stuff and I'm like, oh, that went for like way more than I thought it was when I was, selling my 172 kits. There was a Facebook weekend auction page that I was posting stuff to, and every once in a while I'd post a model kit to it, and it would go for almost $100. And I was like, was that like out of production or something? Like, what was the deal? I don't understand. There's really no rhyme or reason to it, except that I got a better return on some of that investments. But it's just something you accept. It is like, hey, you are getting rid of it to make space for the things that you actually are going to get to. Kind of as my wife really likes that. What is that organizing show with Marie? I think Kondo or something like that. That brings it joy. Does it bring you joy, lady?
Well, it all brings me joy. So I'm gonna.
Trying to explain that to a non-hobby person, a non-hobbyist is very difficult. And I would say almost impossible. Where they're like, I don't understand why you have this in the first place.
I always think of the joke about people that maintain fetishes, and models are a fetish. Let me be honest. There's no other way to describe them other than that. But it's so funny because they're like
A4s like that.
Exactly. They're like, but what do you do with them? You're like, nothing. I just look at them. I caress them lovingly.
That's what I'm doing with them.
I have some army boxes where I'm like, I'm not getting rid of that because I'm going to build that and play with it when we're all in the old folks' home together.
I think of like Brett, your beautiful Ultramarine army that I'm pretty sure is entirely unplayable except for the vehicles. I think the Rhinos could be played, but everything else is entirely unplayable on a modern 40K table, which I'm also the first person to say that's why people play Old Hammer. That's why people play previous editions. They love their models. They devoted time to making their models. But the fact is the market for people to play those games shrinks down.
And I am very jealous of people that can kind of let stuff go. Like I know Casey, for example, I know he sells armies left and right. Like he'll paint an army, play it, get bored, sell it, and then, you know,
Yeah, he
if he
can sell
wants
his
to,
because he's finished painting, unlike mine.
yeah, that's true. He's very good at that. Like unlike most of us, he can actually finish an army.
He actually completes an army.
But
Yeah.
like even commissions, sometimes I'm like, oh man, I did a really good job on that. I don't really want to get rid of it, but the guy already paid me, so I got to send it on. I can say stuff I work on, I get a little bit attached to.
Yeah.
And stuff, you know, I was trying to describe to my wife, like, it's like, hey, it's not that I'm attached necessarily to the thing. I'm attached to the expectation that I'm going to get to enjoy doing that project. And it's like trying to let go of it.
I'm
Sometimes
totally
like, oh, man,
attached to things. And this is what's funny for me. And this is where Noble Knight made a lot of money off me this week. But I look at my Wargame collection, and some of it is nostalgia. I look at like old copies of Squad Leader, Cross of Iron, things that I haven't played in 30 years and probably will not play again before I die. But there's no point in me selling them. I enjoy them. But then there's other completionist things that I look at the rest of like my Avalon Hill games, and I'm like, I am short one game in that collection of what either I used to have or what I've played of a friend's collection or whatever, and I want that one game. And I went down that slippery slope on Noble Knight where I'm like, F it. I've got holiday money. I'm going to spend holiday money because now I want some of these games that I've been chasing for years, trying to get back to, that I played in my youth. Hopefully I'll play them again. Maybe I'll sucker Matt into playing Hex Encounter games.
no, that's not a danger there.
It's never going to happen.
I totally understand on the kind of completionist thing, and that is definitely a way stuff gets out of hand very quickly. When they were cutting Aeronautical Imperialis, I bought a bunch of like Eldar and Tau stuff.
Oh yeah,
not necessarily because I had a plan for it, but it was like, well, I might want to do that sometime in the future. And knowing it might be years before or decades even before they swing around.
I just bought a lot of that stuff that me and a couple of guys of us actually split between us, and I ended up with a bunch of Tau and some Eldar and some Imperial stuff. But yeah, because you're like, it's not going to be out there. I want to buy some, and I'm going to hold on to it. Maybe somebody will need it. Maybe I can share it with somebody, or maybe I'll build it in a few years.
And that's kind of become a bit of an annoying thing about our hobby is if a company's producing a physical miniature, there's really no guarantee how long that company is going to be around for,
right, and
how long that miniature is going to be available for. Now, if they're producing STLs, it's a good chance that that'll be around for a while. You won't have to worry about that in some form or another. Right. But like, using like Wings of Glory or X-Wing, I don't think anyone could have predicted, 10 years ago that X-Wing would just die like it did.
Yeah.
And now the miniatures are going for super expensive. So if you didn't buy, I really like the
some
the
of them
newer,
are super expensive and some of them are super cheap. It's funny.
And it's no real rhyme or reason to it.
They can buy them in lots from guys.
I played first edition, really enjoyed it. Never got around to second edition, and wasn't a tournament player or anything like that, or a meta follower, really. But I did enjoy those miniatures. I especially enjoyed when they came out with the newer ones where the X-Wings, the S foils open and close. That was really neat. Yep. But now trying to find those ones is getting difficult and expensive. I
spent way too much money on those on Amazon, but
the B-Wing was on Noble Knight's going for like $150 or something insane like that.
That's crazy.
Same thing when they canceled Armada. Now the Hammerhead set is like $250, and I've got like 4 of them stored away somewhere. Which at this point I'm not going to let them go. Yeah. Well, no, actually I do know where I found those the other day. I do know where those are. So, and I've got you can't see it, but I've got an Executor up there. But that stuff I probably won't let go because I know if I let it go, even though it could bring me, a lot of money or something like that, I'm never going to get that back. Like
Right.
that's, and you know, barring
and that's the funny thing in the Hex Encounter world is I'm watching people do that. Games that they sold years ago that they just can't buy anymore. And there's one game that I've lost, Magic Realm. I don't know whatever happened to it in between moves and everything else, but that's a $200 game now. If I had it, and I really would like to play it again, but I'm also not willing to pay $200 for pieces of cardboard that are printed.
But that's
on.
also, I mean, that's an interesting difference between, like, for the most part, for historical games, unless you're talking about like pre-painted miniatures or something like that, that doesn't really happen with historical games, because a Sherman's a Sherman. I don't know how many companies are producing Shermans in whatever scale you want. You can find a Sherman.
Right.
And unless you're like really set on, you know, when Battlefront stopped producing their resin set, unless you're really set on that one particular sculpt for some reason, you can find it somewhere else. I almost guarantee
that is
it.
the benefit.
So, you know, so historicals maybe aren't so much of a FOMO type thing as, you know, maybe some limited edition Games Workshop miniature, or a company that's doing like a limited run Kickstarter, which is always like a huge FOMO for me. Is
Right.
like, I don't know if this is going to go beyond a Kickstarter.
Well, I'll be honest, even sometimes with historical stuff from like War Games Atlantic or some of the companies that I feel produce really cool small runs of things, there's sometimes a feeling for me, I'm like, I kind of need to buy this for a project that I'm sort of starting, but maybe not going to bring to completion this year, because I just don't know if it'll be around, because that's really what happened to me with all the Eisenkern stuff. I was like, oh, this will be around forever. I'm good. And now there's only 3 kits you get. You get the heavy troopers, the regular stormtroopers, and their Pathfinders or whatever they're called.
I've got their APC plus.
Yeah, I never bought it.
To that. Yep. Yeah, I bought that when it was still. What was not Defiance Games? It was the other
War Games Foundry, right?
Yeah. Or no, that wasn't the Eisenkern. That was somebody else.
No, that was a different one. Yeah.
Yeah. In any event, I bought that when it was still their first company go around. So I'm glad to have it. I've seen there's some chatter about eventually doing vehicle kits through War Games Atlantic.
That would be nice. Those were nice vehicles.
Yeah, really
the plastic was a pain in the ass, but it was nice.
Super useful for, you know, one-page rules or something like that, where it's, you know, making miniatures agnostic. And to kind of segue from, you know, FOMO type stuff, what's nice is with the emergence of miniatures agnostic war games,
right.
That's kind of reduced a lot of my FOMO, because I'm like, there are millions of STLs out there for whatever design or aesthetic you're looking for, and probably an open source rule set that doesn't require you to have, you know, a specific company miniatures to play a game in the style that you want with the miniatures that you want. And that has helped me get rid of stuff. Is like, I can get rid of this. I've already found the STLs to replace that. The STLs are either more detailed or more the type of aesthetic that I'm looking for. I don't need to hang on to these either metal or resin miniatures at this point, because I'm just lugging around stuff for really no reason.
That's something that I know Brett and I haven't really done, is we haven't made our transition to using our 40K stuff in either one-page rules or Space Weirdos or any one of those systems where we could still play, you know, whatever we want with our miniatures, and we could, you know, do whatever story, but play with.
Matt's been able to consolidate all of his space games into Vipers from Battlestar Galactica, right? You can play those.
You're not
sold
wrong.
everything off.
Man, I'll tell you what, being able to still find those the Battlestar Galactica box or starter sets for $30 a pop and even on Amazon. Oof, that's a heck of a deal for a game that's been out of production for like 10 years.
Yeah. It makes me wonder how many of those sets are sitting in the Amazon warehouse.
There's got to be like 1 billion of them or something like that. They're like, every time I look, and occasionally there's sales and they go down to like $25. And I'm like,
oh geez, yeah, don't tell me that.
I guess I could use another set of Vipers and 2 Cylon Raiders. I'm
looking at my miniatures for the Ogre miniatures game, and I'm like, man, I've got to paint up all those things. I got to prime up all those tanks, all those little pretty 1/285th scale tanks. So
that Ogre game's got an interesting aesthetic that I'm not sold on exactly.
Not sold on? You know, we'll have to play it. This is another one that we'll actually have to play a game, and
it's got miniatures.
It's fun. I kind of like it because it's a near future kind of aesthetic, and stuff just dies fast. You end up throwing a bunch of fast tanks and heavy tanks and missile tanks, all kinds of other stuff, ground effects vehicles, try to kill the one big cyber tank. So it's kind of a David versus Goliath kind of thing. It's kind of fun, but whatever. Well, Brett, any hobby drama that you need to share, or any other things on your end that you've been working on or changing your hobby schemes?
I need to get back to just a little bit, but consistently every night. And I've got to
bad about that.
Get back to that. I tell you, the projects just fly by when I'm doing that, but it's easy for me to fall off the wagon or whatever, where I'm lose that habit, and it's hard to get back on it. And I'm not even talking about a lot. It doesn't even have to be a whole hour, but just some small amount of progress, but every single day. Because, it's kind of obvious. Even if it's 30 minutes a day for 5 days, that's hours worth of progress that I otherwise never get started doing.
It's funny for me. It's just a mental block thing. It's when I walk out of my upstairs office and hobby area and shut the lights off and go downstairs, my brain says, there's no reason to go back upstairs. Sit on the couch, read a book, listen to a podcast, and to just back up the stairs and go, I'm going to sit down and do a little bit of hobby. I can do that for 30 minutes and then absolutely go down and sit on the couch with my wife and watch whatever mindless home renovation show we're going to watch. But I just, in my brain, I'm like, no, if I go upstairs, I'm going to stay upstairs for a while. I'm going to want to do a bunch of things, No, just knock out something quick, do some miniatures, go back about your business.
That's what I've been doing recently. I've been working on a 144 Sopwith Camel. It's an actual model kit, not a repainting it or something else, or an STL. But I've just been doing like one portion a night. So one night I assembled the fuselage, one night I put the wings on, and then the struts. Last night I did the underside painting. Tonight after this I'll real quick do the overspray. On top of that, but that's at least helped me get incrementally, moving forward and stuff. And frankly, if I was working on something that I'm more familiar with, like doing an F-14 or an F-4 or something like that, something I've done before, could probably get, knock stuff out in one night. But it's nice just getting like a little bit of incremental progress done, especially like after the holidays where I'm trying to get back in the routine at work, at home. My daughter had a kind of a rough week getting back to the school routine and everything like that. So just not having like real high expectations to get a whole lot done for this first week back in our routine
I think I'm going to disconnect from this podcast and go try to finish painting a couple more little tanks. If I can at least get a couple more targets for Aeronautica done, I'll be happy. Well, cool. Well, thanks, guys. I appreciate you hopping on the podcast, talk about some of our hobby drama. We'll have to get with Casey another time. And then when Steve's audio is working, he can ask all the questions an episode or two late. But that's okay.
I still want to know what the hell he's building.
Yeah. I want to know exactly. I want to know what's going on. I think he's still building an F-16 cockpit or something else in there. Who knows? We'll find out what he's building.
But, we should just have him like contract Blue Falcon Hobbies to make bespoke hobby storage solutions.
Yeah, exactly. Then he could make millions off of us. Anyway, so with that, please subscribe to the podcast. If you're watching this on YouTube, please comment below. If you're on any one of the other podcast systems that allows you to comment, please do so there as well. We generally try to find the comments, respond to them, and that'll help everybody else out there find the podcast. And then they can be as miserable as you, wasting your hours of the day listening to the Lead Pursuit podcast. But with that, I'll leave you with Steve's commentary of, if you're not flying hard, you're hardly flying. Steve, I don't know if there's any hobby room drama you want to share, since we'd all said we needed to share our hobby room drama episode. Or Brett, I don't know if there's any hobby room drama in your life.
Well, if I'm gonna have to do a hobby room makeover or do-over or something if I start trying to accommodate a Falcon BMS cockpit. We'll figure that out. The table that I'm sitting in, it will have to go somewhere. That'll just go away.
Exactly. That'll go away. Oh, man.